Good morning.
Morning.
Oh, look, we have a full house today.
Agents of Excel will be coming in shortly. They had to collect all of their things, but they will be in here shortly. So thank you guys for hosting.
Oh, it's all good. We have a minute or two.
Thank you guys for hosting this, though. This has definitely helped out a lot of our agents here.
Awesome.
Yeah. You better mute it.
I feel like we should have some music going or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you know that Tammy Ramsey is a police officer?
Tammy Ramsey, we're getting ready to start at night. Say good morning.
Good morning. Tammy Ramsey's a police officer.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Who knew?
Who gave her
And she's
handcuffs?
bald.
Who gave her handcuffs?
Well, she's young and handsome. But she's bald.
OMG.
Tammy.
Can you see her back here?
Who knew that Tammy Ramsey was a police officer and she was bald?
Whoever gave her a gun is severely
I got a lot of guns.
disturbed.
I'm still
Whoever gave her handcuffs.
that comment right there, that one.
Yeah. Well, I've had handcuffs for a while.
Stop.
Listen. Someone can't do the first one.
Uh-oh, I guess I better turn down my phone. Okay, we'll get going here just a second.
Listen, isn't it a crime for impersonating a realtor?
Absolutely.
Well, your husband's impersonating a realtor.
Oh God, don't let him.
He's sitting in my chair.
Oh, is he? Don't
That's
let
what
him
I'm
make
saying.
a
He's
phone
back
call.
there. I'm like, well, hello, Tammy Ramsey.
Don't let him talk to any of your clients.
Hey, as long as he gets the listing.
All right, I gotta go.
Okay.
If anybody needs to be admitted, just holler at me and I'll be able to get them put in. Unless you
Oh,
want
to the room, you mean?
yeah.
Okay,
All right.
all right. Good morning, everybody. So we're on session 18, negotiating offers. I am Kelly Crutcher with Keller Williams Heartland down in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And bear with me, I'm not the most techie person, so I'm going to share my screen, hopefully with you. Second. Catch up. Maybe if I stopped clicking on everything too fast, it'll go. There we go. right. So as I said, I'm Kelly Crutcher with the KW Heartland Elizabethtown office down here in Kentucky. I see we've got somebody in Excel sitting up there in Ohio. And I don't think I've ever met anybody else on this today, but all right. I hope you're enjoying the Ignite session. So today, we're going to be covering negotiations. So before we begin, I'm supposed to ask you how we're doing in our daily success systems from the other day. Has anyone been practicing and doing all that? And we have crickets this morning. Okay. Does everyone drink your coffee this morning? Yes, no? Okay. All right.
I'm sorry, I wasn't on yesterday, so I'm not familiar with what you're speaking about.
What's that? The daily success systems?
Yeah, I wasn't on, so I didn't get to see that.
Oh, okay. That's all right. So today we're gonna just jump into negotiations. So we're gonna cover what is a negotiation, the 3 Ps of negotiations, negotiation tips, recaps and ahas with a couple of activities if possible. And then we'll go into that daily success system that you missed. So let's see. Does anyone have any question? I'm not sure the level of the room. Does anyone have any questions about negotiations before I start? Have you guys entered into negotiations and offers before, or have we got there yet? We relatively new? Okay,
Yes, I have.
what's that?
So yes, I have.
Okay, good. All right, so negotiating is not something to be avoided or feared. It's an everyday part of life. So we kind of do this, with our spouses, with our children. We negotiate cars on the road. We kind of do it subconsciously every day, all day. A lot of the times as agents, and especially newer ones, we can have some limiting beliefs about negotiations, either that it's an argument or that maybe it's a little bit intimidating or a little bit scary. So hopefully by the end of today, we'll get past that. As I said, that we do negotiations every day as part of our lives. For example, if you've ever bought a car, I'm sure you negotiated the price of the car when you bought that car. Has anyone, I'm sure everyone here has bought a car before, maybe, hopefully. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Did you negotiate the price of your car?
No, they don't negotiate with me. It is what it is.
They had to negotiate with you. Okay, I like that perspective. Typically, we negotiate cars because they are a high dollar item, right? The same thing that our clients want to do when they're purchasing a home. So it's an important part of our job. And in Ignite so far, you've learned about NAR statistics, and that real estate's ability to negotiate is one of the top reasons why we are hired by our sellers and our buyers. So what is a negotiation at its basic form? A negotiation is a bargaining process, and the bargaining is give and take process between 2 or more parties. So I'll read that again. A negotiation is a bargaining process, and bargaining is the give and take process between 2 or more parties. Okay. And what we do with it is that we each negotiation has its own aims, needs, and viewpoints. So we're going to get into how do we find those a little bit later on today. Everyone is involved in seeking to discover common ground and reach an agreement to settle a matter of mutual concern or resolve a conflict. Negotiation is where a few of our Y42C3s come into play. Okay. Can anyone tell me which one or which ones might come into play during a negotiation? Who's my talker? Who is it that keeps talking?
Communication.
Yeah, communication, seek first to understand. That's a good one. Win-win or no deal is also another huge one. As a KW agent, you're always working to find a win-win for all parties by being kind and fair and professional. And you have the best chance of reaching an agreement that's best for you and your clients. So finding common ground means that you, your clients, the co-op agent, and their clients are all getting what they need from the negotiation and the transaction. So that needs to be a win-win or no deal, and definitely drawing upon your communication skills. So never forget when you're negotiating that you're building relationships with all parties, both between yourself and your client, between you and the co-op agent. So the kind of the big ones in our Y42C3s is our win-win or no deal. Definitely integrity, do the right thing. Communications, which is our seek first to understand, and trust starts with honesty. So what we want to remember too when we're negotiating is to keep our emotions in check. Never be defensive. That can be a fallback to a negotiation because it sometimes can feel like an argument and we want to get defensive. So we want to keep our emotions in check. Remember our Y42C3s, and also give people grace. Put yourself in the other client's shoes, or put yourself, in the buyer's or the seller's shoes, and just remember that that buyer may be potentially losing out on their dream home. So you want to put yourself in their shoes and obviously seek first to understand. The path of a negotiation. So there's two options after an offer is presented. And obviously option one would be the one that we're going for, which is offer, it gets accepted, and we move towards the closing table. In this market, that doesn't seem to be the norm at the moment. It more so goes like option two, I think you guys can agree, which is we have an offer. It's either countered or rejected. And in which case we have a negotiation. It's either accepted, rejected, or maybe countered again, and we're back in the negotiation phase again. So these can be pretty extensive, especially in today's market, I'm sure you found. So in the last Ignite session, you've learned about offers, which is simplified, being when an offer is accepted, it moves through the process towards a close. That was option one. However, usually it's not that simple. If an offer is rejected or countered, we negotiate with the other side to reach a win-win agreement for everyone. It's also important to note that every transaction is super unique. So negotiations may not always happen at this point in the transaction. So another time that negotiations may happen is also during your inspection period, or after an appraisal comes back. So just because you've written the offer, you've negotiated, it's been accepted, and you're moving towards closing, does not necessarily mean that is the end of the negotiation period. So remember, to get to this point, okay, you've done your lead generation, you've gotten into a relationship with your lead through follow-up to get an appointment and a signed agreement. Then you went on to get your buyer qualified and showed them homes, or as a listing agent, you've helped your client make the choices, the best showcase of their home, and marketed that home. And then to get to this point of the transaction, there's been a lot of time and money and effort invested. I'm sure you all can agree. So you shouldn't lose the deal because your negotiation skills maybe weren't up to par. So today we'll focus on establishing those skills so you can close with confidence. Okay. So first, who are we negotiating with at the very basic level? We're negotiating not only with the agent on the seller side, you're negotiating with the agent and the co-op agent and their seller or their buyer, but you're also negotiating with your client as well. So you're always negotiating with your clients and then the agent on the other side. And don't forget that this is your career. So as you continue to conduct business in the same market, you're likely to encounter those agents on the other other side of the transaction again. So this is where we want to remember our Y42C3s. And so now that you know who we negotiate with, what do you guys think gets negotiated within a contract? What exactly are we negotiating? Anyone answer that? What do we negotiate?
Price.
Price? Yeah, that's our first one. So usually the price is the primary factor in negotiations, and it's all about the cost of the property. That is the number one thing that our buyers and our sellers are looking for. So especially our buyers, they want to get the property for, either the least amount, or they just want to get the property, period. So that might not be the least amount. And our sellers are trying to maximize on their profit. So they're trying to get it for the most. Aside from price, we will also negotiate on terms. So these terms can either be financial based, time based, or both. What are some additional terms that we might negotiate in a contract? Okay, I'll just tell you. So possible terms that we're going to do is maybe a lease back situation. This would be where this would be typically where the seller will stay in the property after closing and lease it back from the new buyer or the new owner. We might negotiate appraisals, whether or not we're going to have an appraisal. If it's a cash deal, that's an option. Earnest money, which would be the amount, or good faith money, depending on where you are and what you call it. So perhaps the buyer says that they will offer 500 and the seller wants 1,000. We'll also maybe do furniture, or even household items can be a point of negotiations. A common one is if that play set in the backyard is going to stay, home warranties and so on and so forth. So basically within the offer, we are negotiating everything, not just price, but also terms, personal properties, warranties, earnest monies, and things like that. What might be important to a seller, for example, other than price? Just to give some things that we negotiate. What would be important to a seller?
Closing time frame.
Absolutely. Closing time frame is a good one. Of course, the buyer usually wants to get in the property as soon as possible, but maybe that seller is working towards closing on another property. So we have that time consideration there of where are they going to go and when. Perhaps they're just not going to be ready yet. Perhaps they're scheduling a move with the Army on a relocation deal. So those are some factors there. What else might be important to a seller? Maybe personal property. Maybe they've written into the listing that grandma's chandelier from the 1940s doesn't stay with the transaction or with the purchase of the home, and the buyer fell in love with it and they want it. These are all things that can pop up, as menial as what they may seem to us. That can be really important to either a buyer or a seller. So any ahas from that? I know it's pretty basic. Anything that would surprise you on what we do negotiate? Has anyone had anything strange come up? No?
Yeah, I have. So I've had collectible comic books offered in lieu of like full purchase price. I've had classic cars.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
So it definitely throws a wrench in things, but there's some the longer you're in this, the crazier things will get.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Like, I think my wildest thing, which maybe isn't so wild considering our market, but was a John Deere tractor. Like I'm talking, I don't know nothing about tractors. It was just a big tractor. That definitely was an interesting situation. But I guess if people are buying the land that they wanted the tractor to go with it. So, and that can pose us some appraisal issues, but I'm not going to get into all of that today. All right, so we've just learned about what or who we negotiate with and what can be negotiated. Now we're going to go into the 3 P's of negotiations. So there's kind of 3 things that we want to keep in mind in our back of our mind, and that is to prepare, to present, and to position. So negotiation is definitely a skill that anyone can learn, and it can be perfected either over time or with the amount of negotiations that we are doing. And the best practices that you can follow is if you remember these 3: prepare, present, and position every time you enter into a negotiation. So prepare would be when you're preparing is the key to building confidence and ensuring a smooth negotiation process. Then we're going to present, which is moving into the negotiation process by presenting the offer. And then position, which is moving both parties closer until you have a full agreement. So throughout the next section, we'll go in depth into each of these 3 pieces and spend some time practicing, or at least reading over some things and role modeling each step. So if you still need practice after today's session, you can always use the time in Ignite to find a partner in practice, or at least, kind of practice within your own mind. So the first P we have here is to prepare. Okay. Details the actions and steps that you'll take before entering a negotiation. So to prepare, you need to know your goal. So have a clear goal of reaching a win-win agreement in which both the buyer and the seller are satisfied with the outcome. So remind your client of their motivations. This is super important, because throughout a negotiation process and maybe emotions are flying high and there's a little bit of tension, you have to remind them of their own motivations, what they started with, what is key to them for moving or buying the home, right? Pull on that. And then when the contract closes, they'll be able to move on basically with their lives. The second one is to know your client. Make sure you fully understand your client's goals. Learn the areas that they are willing to negotiate and where they'll stand firm. So there's a lot of psychology involved in this negotiation process, right? It's not so black and white. There's a lot of things that go on beyond the scenes with your client that you really need to draw upon and seek to understand. You're going to also want to think ahead. So you're anticipating what the other party intends to get out of the negotiation. Write down how you think they may counter the offer and how you plan to handle it. You'll also want to set clear expectations. So prior to meeting with the other party, set clear and realistic expectations with your client. Then under promise and over deliver. I can't say this one enough. Under promise, over deliver. Stress the importance of moving quickly to create a sense of urgency. And then part of setting clear expectations with your client is to be clear that win-lose agreements are likely to be rejected by the other side. So set yourself up for success and make it a win-win. So then we also want to stay informed or be informed. So before making an offer or a counter offer, it's good practice to speak with the other agents. Ask open-minded or open-ended questions and use active listening to find out as much as you can about the other party and their agent. So your goal here is to basically get the co-op agent to kind of break down a little bit and draw out the information about their client that they don't even realize that they're telling you, so that you can maybe understand the other party's motivations, and that will definitely help with your own. So this gets you to know with and whom you are negotiating, and the points that you'll negotiate, and where you and your client are going to gain leverage. Now, super important, obey the laws. So we know that every state locally have their own set of laws and regulations, such as zoning, mortgage qualification, other real estate matters. So stay current in your local regulations and stay out of court. And then also know the documents inside and out. So become familiar with your local board of realtors, governing forms, take the time needed to understand the templates, the contracts, and what belongs in each field. Okay. So are you guys looking at student materials right now? Do you have those in front of you? Were you given student materials?
I think everyone was sent digital materials, but I'm just looking at the screen.
You're just looking at the screen? Okay, that's fine. Thank you. So ask purposeful questions. This is part of your preparedness, going back to the prepare, present, and position. So understanding the right questions to ask is super important to the negotiation process, and being able to prepare in the most comprehensive way. So asking questions allows you to establish and uncover the objectives and goals of both your client and the other side of the transaction. Basically, if we don't have a clear understanding of that, we don't know where to go with our negotiations. So by asking questions, you gain more information. As you gain information, you will strengthen your ability to negotiate, and then increase your chances of having a win-win negotiation. So the benefits of asking questions is that it provides you with points to negotiate on, obviously, provides insight on where you and your client can gain leverage. We're going to set clear expectations, allows you to know your clients better and their goals and their motivations, because that is what you are working for, and helps you learn what will make it a win-win negotiation for all parties. So in kind of like an objective there is that you know where your client wants to be, you have done your due diligence and had your conversations with the co-op agent, and you kind of get a vague idea of the other party's motivations. And so if we can make both parties feel like they've won, that usually will produce an accepted offer. So at the basic level, there's two types of questions. As I said, there's a lot of psychology involved in negotiating offers. The more we realize that, the better handle on it that we can gain. So the two types we have are open-ended questions and close-ended questions. Questions that have unlimited response options are open-ended questions. So I'll say that again, open-ended questions are questions that have an unlimited response option. An example of those are, what additional information should I know? What is important about closing in 30 days? Or how do you feel about that? I find the question, how do you feel about that, to be super useful, because it can produce all number of responses. So closed-ended questions are the questions that expect a specific response. Like, do you have to sell your home by a specific date? Do you have any other offers? Or what is the bottom line price that you'll consider? So why might it be more beneficial to use open-ended questions as you're preparing for a negotiation? Can anyone tell me? What would be better about open-ended questions? Well, because we gain more information. So they're not just a closed question with one limited response. So it will lead into more than likely a conversation rather than an interrogation. All right. So let's go into some specific questions that can help you learn about your client's needs and create a focus for a negotiation. So two options that can be are, what would happen if, and this helps you anticipate the next steps of the negotiation. So just keep in mind, these are questions that we want to remember and use with our clients. So what would happen if, let's see, maybe another question is, why is this important to you? This will help you gain more information and gain more insights into your client's motivations. Is why is this important to you? So if I'm going to give an example and see how this works in a real world setting, let's see, I can do something like, can I get someone to, let's see, are you guys all there? All right. It says here that we're to role play, but I don't think I have enough people on here to do that right now. So we'll just move on to the next section. All right. So we have what's built in here, and if you don't have your materials with you, we won't really be able to do this, but it's working with a partner. There's a scenario. Do you guys have your materials? There should be a scenario in there. Excel, give me a thumbs up in there if you, do you have your materials with you? Yeah.
You want one of theirs so you can see?
Yeah, if you'll give me one of theirs. Just 1 second, guys.
For some reason, they don't match up.
They don't?
No, like your
Okay.
page 25 is not their page 25.
Okay, hang on, guys. I'm gonna get a copy of what you guys are looking at, so we'll make sure we're on the same page, because there's an activity that we're asked to do. Yeah. On mine, it's 18.
Here, is this session 18?
Yeah. 1 second, guys.
Okay. Here is.
Hey,
I don't know where
girls.
you're at. And here, but this is 18. So, oh, right here, I opened right up to it.
Look at that.
See, 2. But see, theirs says, theirs is a little different.
So I'm back. Okay, so in yours, it's 18.6 and 18.7. And it says, read the scenario below. So let's see, using this scenario, you are presenting a single buyer. Your client is renting her present property. Like any first-time buyer, she is looking to you to guide her through the process. The asking price for the home she really loves is $175,000. The house appears to have evidence of a roof leak, is also listed as is, and is correctly priced. Your client would like to keep her payments as low as possible since she still has a number of student loans to pay off. She wants to write an offer for $155,000. There's been quite a bit of activity on the listing. So if you will take some time, I know that, let's see, Excel, you're just in there on your own, it looks like, and the rest of you are on the Zoom call from your location. So I'm just going to take a 10-minute break. And if you'll look through this, and I guess if you can't really role play, think of the things that you would say, or maybe write some notes in your note section about calling the other agent. What questions would you ask? How would you prepare? Okay. So I'm going to give about 10 minutes and then come back to this. Okay. So also that means you get a 10-minute break. All right. So hopefully you had a nice 10-minute break or maybe 5 minutes, but we'll continue on to present. So the best practices when presenting. So you'll, I think you have this in your materials as well, I hope. But now that you understand how to prepare for a negotiation, let's talk about the second, which is the presenting. So let's go over some best practices to keep in mind when presenting to the co-op agent. Your participant guide has more detail that you can refer to back to at any time. But some of the best practices are to call the other agent. And you notice how I say call the other agent? I didn't say text the other agent. We'll get into why you want to call. That is so that you can pay attention. That's number 2, to nonverbal cues like pauses and voice qualities. You can hear those things in a text message. So you're going to want to gauge the reaction of the co-op agent for sure. The phone is the best place to do that. Keep quiet once you present an offer. So as much as we want to keep talking and talking through the offer and we just want to work it out right away, you want to keep quiet and let them talk. And listen carefully to what is important to the other party. Definitely stay calm and relaxed. Definitely breathe. Staying calm and relaxed is important. This is an exciting time, both for the client and honestly for us too. So this is kind of what we live for. Well, at least I do, is this negotiation period. So staying calm and relaxed, and then focus on the customer's needs and give yourself and the offer the best chance. Remember, you're always working to create a positive relationship with the co-op agent. So even if they don't seem cooperative, when their emotions die down, they will remember how professional you were or you weren't. Okay, so this is your career and you'll come across this agent again. So definitely keep those emotions in check at this negotiation or this presenting the offer phase. So now that we've covered the first 2 pieces of the 3 Ps approach, we are ready for the last, which is the last P, which is the position. So position is about moving both parties closer until it's a total agreement. When you're engaged in this step, you will acknowledge and affirm common ground. So you're looking for places where the buyer and seller are in agreement. This also helps uncover the areas that can be adjusted versus the ones that are set in stone. The second thing you'll want to remember is the what and the how questions. So these specific types of questions will help you better understand the priorities on the other side of the table. Your participant guide has some more details on what and how questions that'll be useful in negotiations. So when you have some time, just refer back to that. Understand that this is a process and sometimes you'll have to go back and forth multiple times to get to an agreement. And remember your why 4-2-C-3. So know when to walk away from a deal that's not going to be a win-win without damaging relationships in the process. That's maybe sometimes the hardest thing that we can do, is to advise either our clients or the other agent to walk away. All right. So we're going to leave the role playing since it's a little bit difficult, and go to, now that we understand the 3 Ps approach and have a basic groundwork for how to negotiate, we're going to cover some tips and best practices to help with your negotiation tips. So it's important to remember that negotiating is a skill and it is learned and it should be practiced. When using the 3 Ps approach, keep in mind these best practices, okay? Be professional. So above all else, be professional. Remember your goal is a signed contract, okay? That's your goal. So this is what's driving you towards it. And what both agents and their clients have in mind is that signed contract. Control what you say to anyone involved in the transaction. If you are the one that creates the anxiety in your client or other parties, you're reducing their leverage in negotiations, okay? So control what you say to everybody involved. Continually refer to motivation. Remind your client why they intend to buy or sell and help them reevaluate the request if they are becoming unreasonable. Sometimes that happens during negotiations, especially because emotions are heightened and anxiety sometimes inadvertently gets created. A negotiation is inherently, you kind of have two opposing sides to a negotiation, and that creates emotion. So definitely we're going to have to remind them of their initial motivations from time to time. And don't reveal too much. Listen more than you talk. Keep your client's motivation close to your chest. Don't be attached to the outcome. This can be hard, especially since we have spent time and money to this point. We've lead generated, we've shown them properties. But don't be attached to the outcome, because if it's not this property, it will be another one, as long as you don't damage that relationship with your client. So don't let it affect the mindset of a deal if it doesn't go through, or if your client doesn't act on your recommendation. Find a different win for your client. Okay.
I had that effect on me for some reason.
Here was another one left on the printer. Is that yours? It was still under the glass.
Have you guys, I don't know if you're
I don't know how long. It's been.
muted or not, have you guys been doing this daily success system throughout?
Thank you. No,
Yes, no?
should be.
Okay.
No,
What's that?
no.
No? Am I the first one to bring it up?
I haven't heard of it.
Okay. All right. Let's take a quick break here. I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes, and then we'll go on to the daily success system. And there's a lot. You definitely don't want to miss this one. So give me 10 minutes and I will be back. Hey, guys, okay, I am back from our little bit of a break here, just making sure that I also understood your daily success system. We are basically done with negotiations. Does anybody have any questions? No?
Oh, it's mine.
Okay, so what's on the screen here is your daily success system that should have come at the end of each of these sessions. So what we want to be doing every day, and this is to lead generate. So that's kind of the most important part, because we can't get to a negotiation without lead generating, without the clients to enter into negotiations with. So what we're going to end with is I'm just going to go over this really quick, touch base, and then we will be done for today. So I'm going to trust that you guys are going to go back and you're going to have your 10 conversations. Okay. You're going to add 10 contacts to command or to whatever system that you are using. If it's a notebook, if it's a spreadsheet, great. The goal here is just to get 10 new contacts added. So you're going to get on your phones. You're going to handwrite 10 notes. You're going to do your 10-5-1 social media engagements, your enrichments. Hopefully these lead to appointments. Appointments will lead to agreements, which are accepted contracts, and then to the closing table. Okay. So we can't get to the last one, which is closing, unless we start with our 10 conversations. So thank you guys so much for coming to Ignite or logging in. I really appreciate that. It's good to see you all on here. So we're going to end it. Thank you. It was my pleasure, and go and get started on your daily success systems. Thank you.
Well, I'll still be working. I have a call back. Said he was gonna get the ship, so let me see. I do.
But